Hi guys, welcome to my book review today, and I'll be doing a review on Hello Universe today. Before I start, I want to mention it is a award-winning book for the most Newbery Medal for the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. Basically in this book review, I'm going to do the usual, give a summary, tell what I like, what I dislike, and give it a rating. So this book, there are four main characters actually, and it's sort of told from a narrator perspective. So Virgilio, who is very shy, misunderstood, and socially awkward. Valencia. Yeah, Valencia is very clever, but also very stubborn. She has hearing issues too, slightly, not that much. Kaori, I don't think I'm pronouncing this right. Kori Tanaka. She tells fortunes and can read the stars, and Chet, the Bullins, is the biggest bully around the neighborhood. So basically, the whole story is tied together by one plot that happens right about halfway through, where Chet actually, let me just put this down. Chet actually makes Virgilio fall into a well with his pet hamster. Not sure what his name was, but so basically, Karari and Valencia go looking for him, and in the end, they actually find him. I'm sorry if that was a spoiler review, but I have to say it's pretty self-explanatory if you read most of the book. But I'm sorry if I did spoil that part. And basically, it's not that much of an actual. It's not as much of an actual action story as more of it as a recording of a conflict of lives. So basically, this is how these guys, they go to different schools, but this is how they met. And it's as I said, it's really just recording someone's lives. A lot of the context, I personally think, wasn't necessary. For example, when Valencia goes to the store, she buys ice cream, she comes back. I don't necessarily think that's necessary, but I think it does. For some readers, definitely enhance the story a bit. The story is not personally my style. I like stories with a conflict of interest, which means that basically one character wants something, and there is someone who is trying to stop that character. But I understand this is a good book for those of you, and from its style, I think it's fairly well written for its style, which is not my style, as I said again, but I definitely understand if some people like it. Throughout the book, the one plot, one thing I do have to mention though is that one plot didn't really, it's not very dramatic. So for those of you who want a fast-paced, action-packed book, this is definitely not your number one choice, I think, because this one is more from, it's a lot of character insight, and there's a change in the characters. Well, some of the characters from the start to the end, there is like a change. So this is more of an insight into these characters' lives and how they clash together. It's not really as much of an adventure story, and this definitely is very realistic. This could have happened, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened anywhere, in any high school, or just any school in general. So the readers who will like this book are most probably the ones who like to read about people's lives. They like to read about, character talking. They like, insight into people's emotions, how they feel, social personalities, things like that will be sort of the people to enjoy this book. Definitely though, one thing about this book is there's not that much detail. It's really it's a bony book. I like to think of some books as they have a lot of meat on it, and the meat enriches it. At least for me, I think that I like books that go into detail. It really enhances and enriches the whole story and makes it easy because I picture the images while I'm reading. So I think I personally like books with more detail. So as I said again, this isn't my field. But for those of you who do just want like a bare bones, it's almost like a storyline book, then this book is good for that. So basically, to conclude today, it's relatively short, but what I would say about this book are a couple of points. What I like about it, deep insight into the characters, definitely a lot of personal emotions that definitely make the book very realistic. As I said, I can imagine this happening anywhere. So what do I dislike about this book? I have a couple. First of all, this is completely personal, but I like books with detail. And I think, at least for me, it just enriches the story, as I said already. Second thing is, I don't really like, I can see why people like the narrator style, but I'm not a fan of it because it almost seems like the narrator is, I think, taking sides, because some characters change, some characters overcome a challenge, and some characters don't. Like, for example, Chet, for example. I know it's pretty hard in a 4-people story, but I almost feel like this narrator is taking sides with someone, which I don't really like. I think if you're gonna sort of be on one's, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think if you want to be on someone's side, you should go from their perspective of the story. But having said that, I don't think that's that big of a problem, because there are definitely people who are perfectly fine with the narrator for a person with a sort of side taken. Also, this book, the challenges for each of the characters aren't physical, which means that basically it's a lot of mental barriers. So, for example, Virgilio actually has a crush on Valencia, but until then, Virgilio actually never contacted her. In the end, he did after all these events. So the characters do, I have to say, overcome mental barriers, especially Virgilio. But what I don't necessarily like about that part is I don't see how the following events in the story helped him overcome these mental barriers. For example, Virgilio getting stuck inside a well. I don't necessarily see how that helped him overcome the mental barrier. Having said that, I think it is definitely a valuable addition to the book. Because if there aren't physical barriers, then you most likely want to put some sort of mental barrier. So that's definitely a good thing. So to conclude, this book I think is an excellent book for people with certain reading styles, which is they don't like that much detail and they want a very emotional, insightful book into people's emotions, their nature, their backgrounds, their cultural identities. Then if you like those sort of books, this book is perfect for you. But I think for a lot of readers out there who want really enriched, detailed books with a lot of action and adventure and drama, tension, then this wouldn't be my first pick for you. But I think it is a good learning experience for learning a different type of book, at least for me as well, when I read this. So I would still recommend it, but it wouldn't be on my top list if I had to choose my personal favorite books, but I can definitely see why some people would really like this book. So, in overall, thank you for watching. I will give this book, I'll give this book 4 stars out of 5. That would be my, in the end. And that's because I personally learned this new style from this book. It was my first time with this sort of style of reading, very bare bone, but most of the story and the actual development of character happens inside them, not outside. So because I thought it was a good learning experience for me, I would give it 4. But for those of you who just want drama, adventure, and action, then I would probably give 3.5 for you. But for most people, I still think it's a great learning experience. Although, as I said, this won't be my first pick for my personal favorite books. So again, thank you for watching my book reviews. Please make sure to place a subscribe and a like. It really motivates me for future videos. And thanks for watching Chapter 1.